All right. Hey, everybody. It is time for the NintendoFuse Podcast. Again, here we are at episode 162. We've entitled this the Holiday Gift Guide 2018, and we're so excited to share all those thoughts with you along with some news. And I am not alone. My name is Steve, but I am also here with Greg. Hey, Greg. How's it going?
Good. How's it going, Steve?
Doing pretty well. And we're not only joined by Greg, we're also joined by Barry as usual. Hey, Barry.
Hey, guys.
Barry's got a little change of scene if you're watching us live. Yeah,
yes, a little bit.
Another computer mishap, huh?
Yeah, my wonderful computer just had a Windows update, and it died.
Nice. That's.
It's in the shop right
now. Okay, so this time maybe hopefully that it actually gets fixed and lives on maybe. So. So, all right. Well, if you are new to the podcast, we do want to remind you that we are a fully interactive podcast. So if you're listening or watching live, you can actually head to our YouTube channel and interact with us within YouTube in the chat. And we love to interact with all of our listeners, our viewers there. If you are tuning in later, you can always send in a question to podcast@nintendofuse.com. And you can also interact with us on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We also have a Facebook group, and encourage you guys to check us out there, just at NintendoFuse, and you should be able to find us and interact with us there. And let us know, especially if you're watching live, and you can throw your ideas about what we're talking about in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Throw some questions as we chat about all this different stuff. And also, if you're watching later, make sure you do throw your comments down there, as well as subscribe. If you're not subscribed to us on NintendoFuse here on YouTube, you can do that. And also, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Just type in NintendoFuse, and you'll get every one of our new episodes each time we launch that. We do it every other week for our podcast. And yeah, we'd love to have your subscription. Hit the bell here on YouTube to be alerted every time we post new videos. All right, with all that out of the way, let's jump into kind of a recap of what you guys have been doing the last couple of weeks. Greg, what have you been playing? What have you been writing? What's been going on in your life the last couple of weeks?
Last few weeks, I finally got a chance to start into the Time Carnage. It was a game that I had received, I think, over a month ago, and I finally had a chance to give it a start. It's a little game where you kind of like stand like behind like a force field thing, and then you have you can use two guns to shoot out a bunch of onslaughts of rounds of zombies. So kind of an interesting type of game, and just only in the first couple of missions. So that's a quick overview of that one. Then I also got a chance to start, oh geez, what was it? Oh, Moonlighter. How could I forget the name of that one? Yeah. I know we were discussing about it for a while in our Slack channel, but I finally got around to downloading it and just giving that one a shot. And that one's also a very interesting game. I've talked a lot about The Binding of Isaac previously on the podcast, and this is kind of along the veins of that type of game, but it has a lot more story and a lot like an actual town to interact with other characters, so it's more RPG-like. So that one's also been a lot of fun so far.
Cool. Barry, what have you been playing lately? If I can talk, right?
if you could talk. Actually, I've been playing quite a bit. I've had some time to really sit down and knock out some stuff that I wanted to do. So I finished Starlink, and I was happy to finally put that down. And immediately, I went to Diablo 3, and I went through that. And that's a game that I got at launch on PC, which had tons of problems. I got it again on PS3 and never even touched it. Got it again on PS4 and went through the first act. And now Switch, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I actually finished through the story campaign. I might go back later and do the seasons, but I'm like, nope, I at least got that done. And then I was like, all right, now I'm going to start going through some back burner bits. And I did the Donkey Kong DLC for Mario and Rabbids, which is something that I've been waiting to do for a while. I just kept getting pushed back. But I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. And then I started playing some of the smaller games. Some I'm going to be doing for review. One of them is Ninja Clash of Carrots. I have a review ready to go live here probably within the next few days. And then a couple others like Rockets, Mini Metro. There's a couple others, smaller titles that I messed around with. and I'm gonna be playing a little bit more of that. But of course, that all came to a close on Friday because Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee came out. So I've been playing Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu since Friday, and I am on the 8th, getting my 8th badge right now. I'm in the middle of the gym at this point. And I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Cool.
And
Jared.
then of course,
go
Dracula's Lost too. I gotta say, I've been playing a lot of Dracula's Lost. Still, the new events constantly coming out, and Pokemon Go I've still been playing. Still doing stuff with that too. So can't forget the mobile side. Nintendo is still trucking it there.
Of course. I've actually been playing very little lately, but I'll talk about that for a second because I want to remember to actually talk about Jared. Jared posted in the chat that he's beat most of Spyro, and he's also been playing through Let's Go Pikachu as well. So I know I think maybe even on the last podcast I had mentioned that I was going to be traveling a lot, and I just got back from a trip to St. Louis, and I had intentions actually to play quite a bit, probably continue to play through the Xenoblade 2 DLC or the second patch through Torna, and then some other games that I'd been wanting to play. And I had a really early flight and a really busy week and a really late night flight. And guess what I ended up playing on the plane? Absolutely nothing, because I was just sleeping. So all I've played recently, I played around with the YouTube app on the Switch for a little bit before I left on my trip. Played some more Rocket League, of course. And then I also played, I had a thing a couple weeks ago with some friends, and we ended up playing some Super Mario Party and some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with some friends, and that was a blast. Really, this is only the second time I think that I've been able to play Super Mario Party with a group. Most of the time I've been playing with just me and my wife, or just me playing through the mini games and stuff. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to around the holiday season playing it more with my family and friends and stuff like that too. So yeah, I haven't jumped into anything new, but I have been playing a little bit of some party games in between the travel and everything. But unfortunately, Torna is going to have to wait until I find some more time. But
like right after the filming of this podcast.
If I didn't have to get the audio version ready for all those listeners, maybe we'll see. Although I also haven't seen my wife in several days, so maybe we should spend some time together. But
that's overrated. Torna's way more important.
Anyway, so other people in the chat, let's see. Oh, what you guys just talking about Pikachu and stuff like that. So how much you've made it through Pokemon Go. I mean, so yeah, let's talk about that. Greg, did you get Pokemon Go? Let's go. I mean,
no, I'm not a huge into Pokemon, so I haven't yet to purchase a Pokemon game yet. The closest I get to Pokemon is playing Pikachu in Super Smash Brothers.
Nice. That's the closest you get. Not even Go on your phone.
I had tried it for a month and I got kind of bored of it, so I uninstalled it.
All right. Okay. So I'm still waiting on what you guys think, you and Hassan, Barry, and see what you guys are thinking about the game before I end up pulling the trigger on it. But
it's you want to know what I think? Honestly, I think a lot, and I've noticed this too. In fact, people are surprised that the reception is a lot more positive than they expected it to be. People were like, "Oh my God, no random battles, no random battles. Oh, no wild battles." Like that was the biggest thing. And you know what? That is the one thing that's taken out. But I don't find it as detrimental as I expected. In fact, I found catching the Pokemon just as is challenging enough, especially on the TV. It's a little easier handheld. But there's a lot of extra trainer battles. So the battles have gotten intense. And it is yellow. It's not like, oh, this is a side story like Pokemon Snap where we're on rails. Like, no, it is the full game, all 8 gyms, Kanto like you remember it, done better. And then from what I understand, after you beat the Elite Four, there's like 160 challenging trainers to go against, including red and blue. And I'm like, there's a lot to this game. And it looks gorgeous. And they've added a lot of things that weren't in the original, like 2-on-2 battles. Mega evolutions are here. Shinies are here. They're all of shiny versions and the Alolan versions. So there's a lot to this game. It is a lot of fun. And I'll be honest, I'm having more fun with it than I thought. It's bringing me back to that high school vibe when I first played Pokemon Blue. And my wife got a Switch just for it, and she's having a ball. You know, even just taking out the Pokemon in the Pokeball Plus, you know, carrying that around and coming back home, and they're like, oh, we're going for a walk. All right, now let's see how much experience you get. Like, it's just kind of cool. It's very immersive.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I'm still not sure for sure, but that's actually cool to know. And for me, because I think I'm not like huge into Pokemon, and I never really like went, you know, as far to like, you know, train everything and get all the special teams and different things all set up and everything. I actually like the idea that there's no random battles, because I feel like I'll actually make it through the game a little faster, and when we get you know, sidetracked by all this other stuff, I can actually stick to like my main goal in the game. So that sounds like a good thing to me.
Yeah. Well, if that was your one caveat, then this game's perfect. There are things to get sidetracked with, like finding shinies. Every time you catch the same Pokemon, you start a combo, and the higher the combo, the more experience you get, the better IV'd Pokemon you get, and the better chance of shinies. And on top of that, they actually brought IVs into the game this time, as opposed to, you know, having to use third-party apps or some other way to find the IVs. Like, you get a judge system, and it tells you just how good this Pokemon is. So if you catch 3, you know, Zubats, they're not all going to be the same. And that was the case even with Pokemon Blue and Red and Green back in the day, but we just didn't know it. So you were just happy to catch, oh, I got a Sandshrew. Yeah, I got a Sandshrew. Like, you could have caught the crappiest Sandshrew and you had no idea and no way of really knowing unless you were really into the metagame. And this kind of brings that to the forefront. Like, hey, you can easily see this. You could scan through all your Pokemon. You can mark favorites. And he's like, oh, I don't need this. You can then send that to Professor Oak. You get candy. And the candy is then just used to power up whatever Pokemon you want, like their strength or their skills, or, you know, their speed, their defense, stuff like that. But you can't enhance the IV. So if you want something like, oh, I really love Geodude, or I really love Onix, you're going to be catching a lot if you want the best of the best. But if you really don't care, you don't need to. You can go through the game without having to worry about that.
Gotcha.
That's something Fire Emblem Heroes really needs, is those IVs to show you and not have to like check up on other websites just to find out what the IVs are. So
yeah, well, that's what I said. They brought this right to the forefront. You don't get it right at the start of the game. So like, if you're looking for it right away, like, you're not going to get it. You get it around the 4th gym, so about halfway through the game. But it's fun. And Pokemon you get in the story or from other like NPCs are good stats, and your Pikachu or Eevee is perfect. So like, the partner Pokemon you get is a perfect Pokemon.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, it seems like, and like, the more I hear about it, it really is that almost perfect combination of the original Yellow and like everything that they learned from Go, and plus a little more. So it does seem really interesting. And I think when I was originally playing Blue, I never even knew anything about IVs or anything.
Yeah,
I was just playing through the game, didn't know anything about that until much later that was even a thing. So that's cool to hear that they've really kind of beefed it up in those ways. So, all right, well, let's get into some news discussion before we jump into our holiday gift guide and a new segment we'll talk about in just a bit. Barry, you want to run with the news tonight and let us know what's been going on in the world of Nintendo?
Sure, just throw it out at me. Why don't you? Like,
of
I have
course.
nothing better.
Yeah, I have been traveling. You've been keeping up with all the details.
I really haven't. But you know, well, let's start with first. We could talk about a little bit of Microsoft here. There was a little tweet that went out, some praise. You know, this took people by surprise. There was coming from Microsoft. Did you guys see this? Like, did this shock you when you saw this? Before we get into it,
I saw it, and I wasn't completely shocked. I think because I didn't realize who it was that I was reading it from first. I think it got retweeted by another follower. I was like, oh, cool, someone's talking about. I think it was Civ 6. I think about to be on Switch and everything, and I was like, that's cool. And then I saw that I think that was the CEO or the head of Microsoft Xbox like department, I think, had retweeted or commented or something like that. And then all of a sudden I started looking into it, and I was like, wow, I wasn't completely shocked, but it was kind of a cool thing to see.
Yeah,
go on.
I was going to say, I don't think I saw the one, at least in question, but I know I've seen previous praise from Microsoft, like either complimenting the Switch in some regard or being like happy to work with Nintendo and stuff like that. So I don't know if they made a new comment about it, and that's what we're talking about, though.
Yeah, there was a new one. It was Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer is the head of Xbox, the CEO of Xbox. Pretty much just went out there and praised the Switch. Praised about how you can take it portable, how you can take it on a plane, go into these shows, and how he looks so forward to playing games on the Switch. And that's so cool to see. Like, a lot of people think this console war is a big deal, and the truth is it's all in the fans. Back in the day we had Genesis does what Nintendo don't, and that was marketing, of course, and it went back further. Atari and Intellivision went at it, but nowadays they're all friends and they all work together. And to see, the head of Xbox just publicly promote, of a competitor's product is awesome. And I'd love to see Nintendo do the same. Like, I think the world would be better if we all work together. And if, they can do it, then everyone else can do it.
Yeah.
He said when he took a picture. He actually, it was like a retweet from someone else with a picture of Civ 6 on the Switch. And the tweet was, "The only Switch game that matters today. This is genuinely a dream come true." And Phil Spencer actually retweeted it, saying, "When I look at this, I just see hours of my life slipping away. Would be nice to make those long plane flights seem not so long." Like, that's huge. Like, yeah, Civ 6 is originally a PC game, but here it is, the head of Xbox. I can't wait to play Civ 6 on my Switch. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's kind of piggybacks on, I think, some of the comments. Was it around E3? I think the Nintendo and Microsoft Twitters were kind of writing back and forth together about playing. Was it Fortnite or something like that online? Because at the moment you couldn't do it with PlayStation. They were kind of taking a little dig against Sony at the time, but it was seeming like they were playing nice together at that moment. And kind of this is like the next step, I think, beyond just saying, oh yeah, our online is compatible. Now we're actually like we're talking like praise about the other company in this way. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good thing to hear. I mean, I've been kind of going into a lot of the Christmas movies recently, and obviously like Miracle on 34th Street is like a big thing that was kind of bringing up. So in that movie they have like they don't want to, like, initially the stores weren't really like promoting other stores, and then eventually they start doing it, saying it's a good tactic. And then I feel like now we're coming full circle in the video games, where it was like they obviously don't like promoting each other, and then all of a sudden now it's like they're starting to realize that, hey, there's not really a console war. It's like everyone's just excited to be a gamer. So it's very nice to see that we're kind of getting behind this, like getting rid of this hate campaign type stuff. So.
Yeah, that's what's so important about this is that, the cross-play thing was funny, taking jabs at Sony, but at the end of the day, it's all one business. And if any of the three pillars fails, not only is it bad for the other two remaining because it's less competition and less money in the industry, but it's bad for all of us as gamers.
Yep.
All right, so on top of that, let's go into Nintendo land here. I don't know if you saw this, Greg. I know you said you haven't really been paying attention, to Steve as well. But a Nintendo branch we rarely ever hear from, Nintendo Russia. The CEO, and I'm gonna butcher this name, Yasha Hadaji. Maybe I got it right. He was caught losing his temper on a live stream, cursing and insulting employees. He has since been fired, and former Nintendo Russia employees now are accusing him of blackmailing, abuse, sexual harassment, and more, saying like Nintendo of Europe kind of like looked away. And yeah, this is pretty big deal considering Nintendo tries to maintain a family friendly, image. And here you have the CEO of one of their branches just insulting employees. What do you guys think of this?
That's crazy. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that. So man, I'm interested. Like I need to look into it a little more and see what's going on. But that's kind of crazy. And what has anything been done since then? Or I mean, was he let go?
He's fired.
Like
Yeah,
that's pretty much all we know. So
he's fired, and now that he's gone, like people are coming out of the woodwork. Like, oh, I didn't want to speak before, or I did, and it was just looked, Nintendo of Europe kind of, like, oh, whatever, we don't want to hear it. But there are a bunch of accusations, and I don't know how many of them are true. But stress, sexual harassment, blackmailing, abuse, bad temperament, and more. One guy who works at, I guess, Level Up 2017. He says that Hadaji grabbed him by the badge on his neck and yanked him towards himself right in front of the main stage, called him an idiot, and said he won't pay him anything. Like this are things you don't want to see. He then started going F-bombs and stuff. Like, this is not Nintendo. This is not the Nintendo we think of. And I don't know who put him in this position to begin with, but I don't know if it was just bad, like, background checks on this guy, or he was not like this originally and just the industry turned him into this. I don't know. But it just shocked me when I saw this. Like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is I can't believe that this is like something that's going on, like a branch at Nintendo. I mean, I would very surprised like employees haven't like reported it to like whatever Nintendo of Europe or
They did report it to Nintendo of Europe, and Nintendo of Europe just kind of like, we don't, all right, whatever. And a lot of them were let go. A lot of that stuff, doesn't get heard, unfortunately. It's easier to just look away and just let things be, as long as things are working out.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. I mean, it's unfortunate anybody has to go through that. So, I mean, of course, we hope no one ever has to deal with that kind of abuse or anything. But I hope it, doesn't take, a negative toll toward, the gaming company that we all know and love. Hopefully they don't get, too much bad press for this sort of thing. But it seems like it's beyond just him making poor decisions. This is also them, like, at least some parts of Nintendo sweeping this under the rug, and that's not good.
No, it's not. And it's, just when I read this article, I was just picturing Reggie, like, just grabbing somebody and just F-bombing here and F-bombing there. Like, that would destroy Nintendo of America's image. I mean, the reason Reggie even got that job is he got out there on stage and, he was like, I'm here to kick ass. Like, he was, just pushing himself, in the forefront. Like, this is somebody you want to listen to. He's got authority, and he's got authority in the good way. This is the total opposite situation, and it's just fascinating that this happened with Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes to how we didn't even know that there was even a branch in like Russia. Because I mean, obviously, if we were located out there, I'm sure we would know. But I don't think the vast majority of fans even knew that there was a branch there.
I didn't.
Especially
I'll be honest.
outside of the region. So it does obviously really hurts and will make them look really bad. But I'm sure they'll be able to bounce back and get some new practices in place so then this doesn't happen at another branch or something. So like formalized HR policies or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the repercussions are going to be of this. I don't know if Nintendo. I didn't see if Nintendo Japan or Nintendo of America have actually made a statement on it, and they might have. But there's got to be some kind of repercussions. There's got to be some kind of structural, investigation now. Like, why did this guy get hired and put? It's not just he was an employee; he was the CEO. How did he get to this position? There's got to be some kind of reworkings to prevent that from happening again.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next short little topic here. The short little one is the Switch. I'll talk about the Switch for a second. The Switch has kind of broken the mold on what people associate Nintendo with, in a sense. A lot of people say, well, Nintendo doesn't have a lot of games. And this really started back in the N64 days, when third parties started jumping ship, and followed into the GameCube days. The Wii was known for shovelware, and obviously the Wii U. God, the Wii U. So terrible. But the Switch has now blasted back and has reached over 1,000 games within a year and a half. Now, granted, that's total, that's physical, and that's digital. And yes, the majority of that is indie titles, of course. But there's a lot of AAA there. There's a lot to play on the Switch. For people just getting a Switch now this holiday, there's a lot to play. And if you have a Switch now and you're like, what do I play? There's a lot to go in there and look for. What do you guys think of hitting this milestone so quickly? Especially after the Wii U debacle, we'll call it.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I have noticed, even like we talked before, like most of my Switch games are on, I've downloaded them digitally, and I started out, I think, with a 128 gigabyte card, maxed that out, ended up getting a 256 gigabyte card, have maxed that out. And I still have several other games that I have had to delete from the Switch and reinstall new ones. I have a lot more on cartridge now because I'm tired of deleting and downloading, re-downloading everything. So I've gotten.
You're coming back to the light side.
Although it's a pain to carry all these cartridges around, but at least they're tiny. Well, that could be a good thing or bad thing, depending on how forgetful and how much you lose things. So I think it's great that we have that many games. And I'm glad that for the most part, we haven't sacrificed quality over quantity. It seems like, for the most part. I think sometimes they may have rushed some games, but I think overall it's not the case. The thing that honestly came to me, my mind first, honestly, was some sympathy toward you, Barry, because that's a lot of cartridges you got to buy, and that's more shelves you got to build.
Thankfully, in this regard, the majority of that 1,000 at this point is digital and smaller titles. However, more and more smaller titles are getting physical releases thanks to smaller companies. So yeah, of course, I got to get them. And then there are other titles that are only released physically in Europe, or even some only in Russia or Asia that are or not in Russia, Germany, I mean, or Asia, and those have English language on them. So there's still a lot to collect, and it's only getting worse by the day, and more people jumping on the Switch. But yeah, I mean, that was what you just said there with quality versus quantity. That was what Nintendo touted during the N64 days, when people were like, well, all the big titles that you should have had are now on PlayStation. Why don't you have Metal Gear Solid? Metal Gear started on, was on the NES. Why don't you have Final Fantasy VII? Final Fantasy was on the NES, etc. And they were like, well, we have quality over quantity. And now we've got that quality and quantity at the same time, at least for the most part.
That's awesome that they've hit that achievement, and it's nice to have so much variety to be able to play. I mean, I even remember like in the Wii U's time, like I was playing Mario Maker for like 2 years because there literally wasn't really this plethora of games to choose from and to move on to. So it's definitely great for Nintendo, and it's awesome to have options. And I know Barry will also be excited to hear that I'm probably also going to get a few more physical copies, just because that 128 gigabyte card just kind of fills up very quickly, and I only have like 15-20 gigs left on it, and I'm already getting a Smash Brothers physical edition, and I even pre-ordered the physical edition for Metroid Prime 4 and Fire Emblem 3 Houses. So the trend for physical
proud of you.
Is continuing ahead.
Yeah, Greg, I remember Greg and I have kind of teamed off over the last few years about the Nintendo download, and I remember And then there were days where we'd have like 1 or 2 Wii U games and maybe a couple 3DS games, and that was it. But pretty much the entire time in the Switch's lifespan so far, we've had, a pretty decent list every week. I mean, it's usually at least 10, 12 games every week.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I've seen a week with less than 10 titles.
Yeah.
I almost want to raise that to 15, but I'm not so sure. Like, it just feels like there's just way too much releasing on Switch every single week.
Yeah.
The problem is there's not enough time to play everything. Right. But at least we don't have great titles like The Letter, Remember that Wii U gem?
Yeah.
Wasn't it beaten like a minute or something?
Hudson's in the chat, and he says, just got to get the 400 gigabyte card. Yeah, my 512 is not even cutting it anymore. So actually, no, I don't have a 512. I have a 256, but I could probably max out a 400 card because their games, they're just gigantic. I mean, NBA 2K is gigantic. I have Skyrim digital. I have there's a couple others that are just gigantic games, and like you can't do anything about that. It's unfortunate.
See, and this might be a good thing, because hopefully people then take this lack of space and turn it into outrage at these third-party publishers that are being as lazy and cheap as possible and putting out these physical games that require a download because they don't want to pay for the next size up card because it'll cost them an extra $1 or $2. Like, oh no. And that needs to stop, because unfortunately then even if you do get physical, you still have to have an accompanied download. And that eats up space too. Not as much as getting it full digital, but still it eats up space.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man. So that ends the small news topics. Let's go into the bigger ones. Steve, you want to take over these? I know you usually saw these.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the bigger news, we have heard that Sony has backed out of E3 2019. And we already saw that Microsoft had kind of taken a step back in 2018. They had kind of their own event sort of thing going on. Nintendo for years have now been doing this their digital show, so a pre-recorded kind of video that they release, but they're still present at the event. But Sony has decided to back out of 2019. I'm still reading all the details. Like I said, I've been traveling a lot and everything lately, so I haven't really took a deep dive into all the different reasons and exactly what that means for Sony. But I just want to talk about the bigger picture of E3 for a bit. Like, Greg, did you hear about this? And if so, like, what's your thoughts? And like, what do you think that this means for other companies like Nintendo and E3 in general?
I was just been reading into it over the last hour, and I am kind of bewildered that like Sony would drop out. I mean, it always seemed like both them and Microsoft have always had very large presences and were very into their stage shows, and everyone's still clamoring, Nintendo, bring your stage shows back. We want like that live reaction. And they still just move forward with like their digital event and the Treehouse Live that they've been setting pattern at least whatever 4 or 5 years now or whatever that's been. So I don't know. I think that this could be a turning point for Sony, or maybe they don't really have enough to warrant a show for next year, and we'll just keep their try Nintendo's approach with like Sony Directs and stuff like that, or whatever word they'll use instead of Direct, obviously. But yeah. I don't know. I mean, they could be back the following year, and they just really didn't have a lot to show next year. I mean,
yeah, it's really interesting. I think, especially because I've heard confirmation that the PS5 will probably launch in 2020, and so it seems like it'd be a weird time to back out, but I don't know. Barry, what do you think about this whole thing about Sony taking a backseat from E3?
It's always upsetting. I mean, E3 is always going to be gamer Christmas, and when Nintendo stopped after 2012, so like in 2013 when they started the Nintendo Directs, it was rocky and it wasn't the best, and I still would love to see them put on a live show again. But Nintendo Directs work. Microsoft, going to the Microsoft Theater instead. It sucks that they're not there at E3 per se, but they're at least on the show floor. Sony is not only not doing a press conference, they're also not going to be on the show floor. So they're really taking a step back. What does this mean for E3? I don't think it means as much as some people want to say. I think the PS5 rumors are true. And I think that Sony is kind of been, the past year or so, has been taking a page from Nintendo, where Nintendo will focus on, you know, a few big titles. And like this holiday, for example, Nintendo is focused on Smash, they're focused on Pokemon, and they're focused on Super Mario Party. And then briefly, here's Torna. Sadly, that should be up there as a pillar, but that's another topic. But if you look at what they do, here's what we're focusing on. There's other great titles for the Switch that are coming out, but Nintendo is focused on those. And if you look at E3 2018, Sony did the same thing. Here's our 4 big titles. Here's what we're going to focus on, these 4 big titles, with a little bit extra stuff. And we're going to change venues for some weird reason and make it awkward. But it was failed. But that's what they were doing. They canceled the PSX this November, December, because they stated they didn't want people to fly out to Los Angeles for a big show and get all excited. Oh my God, there are going to be new, titles shown, and they didn't have anything. So they didn't want to disappoint their fans. They canceled that. Now they're canceling this. It seems like they are full-fledged working into PS5 territory, and we'll probably be back with a vengeance in E3 2020. Like, here it is, boom. PS5, big blowout here in force on the show floor and everything, but it's still going to make E3 2019 severely lacking. And I wonder, even though that may not be the true state of E3, what the ripple effect of that is going to be.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and that's what I think. Probably at this point, most people, most other companies and everything have their same plans. They're going to keep moving forward. A lot of third parties and indie developers and stuff like that, they probably already have been thinking about what they're going to do for E3 in 2019. And so they're going to keep on with their plans. But if Sony's not being there has a big effect, and they don't come back in 2020, that could have a ripple effect. And I think E3 may not have the push. I mean, that might have been the turning point. I don't know. Well, I guess only time will tell, but it's a big player stepping out, and I don't know what that's going to mean for the future. Greg, do you think Nintendo is the next to pull out completely, or are they going to they're going to keep going and just do their digital event and still be on the show floor?
I think that they'll at least continue with like what they've been doing with the digital event. I don't think they would all of a sudden just say we're not going to E3. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they certainly could follow suit. Obviously, they did stop like the big stage show production, but I don't know. I feel like they still like going to different events and like advertising it. And I mean, it's not only E3, but there's also other events that they do throughout the year, at even like Best Buys and other stuff like that. And I feel like they enjoy letting their consumers get like hands-on trying, whether it's media or just a fan that gets invited. So I'd like to think that at least Nintendo will be sticking around E3 for the time being until maybe E3 itself kind of either goes away or whatever. But I don't know. I would think it would take Microsoft also dropping out before like it really is like really huge and just E3 just ceases to exist.
Yeah. I guess we'll only see. I know. Yeah, go ahead, Barry.
I was going to say Nintendo was asked about it, and Nintendo actually doubled down on E3. They stated that it was a great revenue builder. It was a great place to get out there and show the games to the fans. They absolutely enjoy E3 and have no plans of dropping out anytime soon.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. I was referencing that to at least myself. So
yeah, and we'll see. I mean, Nintendo has made pretty strong comments about other things before, and then all of a sudden, like, times change, and they kind of make additional statements that seem like they're kind of going back on what they say, or maybe they are doubling down for 2019. But then, Sony continues to stay out, and Microsoft decides to pull as well, and they're like, oh well, E3 is not as important as we once thought that was, so we're not going to double down as much anymore. So I think
I would be fine with that as long as they brought back Space World.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing. Like, if they do end up, coming, if E3 continues to go that direction, and more companies are are not going to be present there, and it ends up, you know, dying or taking a turn or a pivot. They need something else, right? They need something else that's going to be able to show off their new games, their next systems, some sort of event like that, that people can get some hands-on time and they can kind of build up. I don't think they can only do Nintendo Directs and that's it. I think there needs to be some sort of time where even the press gets in there and get some hands-ons on their actual devices and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people forget is that, you know, Nintendo Directs are great. And when Nintendo Directs come out, they're covered, but they're covered by the game journalists. E3 is actually covered by Time. It's covered by the New York Times. It's covered by USA Today. It's covered by a bunch of other journalists of other mediums. So it gets the attention out there to people who don't normally follow gaming news and are like, oh, that looks cool. I didn't know that existed. So in that respect, it's very important.
Yeah. That's where I see Nintendo starting their own event at either any other venue before they would stop doing E3.
Yeah, that's what Space World used to be.
There you go. Maybe the return. We'll see. They call it Switch World. All right. That's bad. New Switch World. New Switch World 3. All right. So let's move on. We got a little movie trailer this past week. 2 weeks ago. I can't remember exactly when it dropped. Week ago. And we have a live action, mostly live action. Detective Pikachu is coming, and Pikachu's been being voiced by Deadpool, and that's kind of weird. But yeah, did you guys get a chance to see the trailer so far? And what'd you think? Barry, let's go first.
Yeah, I saw it. I was shocked when it suddenly launched, and I thought it was great. I was really excited. I love the look of the Pokemon. I love the fact of how like dark and gritty they made the world. And I don't know if you played Detective Pikachu. It's a fun game, and it is a darker storyline, but it's still like the first mission has you go in a park, and you see there's like an Apom that looks dead, but it's really just knocked down. It looks like there's blood, but it's ketchup on its tail, and like it kind of plays with the darker tones, but it's still bright and cheery. So this is just like Christopher Nolan, Batman Pikachu. You know, it's really, you know, like did Zack Snyder get his hands on this? Like, this is really dark, but at the same time, it fits, and it's great, and it looks just like a lot of fun. And I think it's interesting that it pulled so much traction away from Toy Story 4 that Disney had to release another Toy Story 4 trailer the next day to get talk back on their movie. Like, that says something about the staying power of Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah. I know there were rumors that Ryan Reynolds was going to be voicing him if there was a movie and all these different things. Gray, did you actually think that was going to happen, or was that kind of a surprise to you?
It was definitely caught me by surprise, and I actually haven't even watched it yet. But obviously, I heard kind of like I saw like the article on our site and stuff, but still didn't end up watching it. But it is pretty cool to see like at least a Pokemon movie. I'm sure that's gonna sell gangbusters like in the theaters and stuff, just like how they have the Mario movies coming too. So this is Nintendo's finally expanding into another platform with their IPs, and it's only gonna mean good things for them. So
yeah.
Well, I'm shocked when you saw the article you didn't want to click on that and see the trailer. I mean, like. Well, the trailer, it's not the whole movie.
I mean, did you pay attention where I said I don't really follow a lot of Pokemon stuff? I don't really play Pokemon.
I'm saying when you saw the article.
No, that's true. I mean,
I know. So like you can see my interest, like my dying interest. Like, oh, there's a trailer. It's just waste a minute of my life watching the trailer of a movie that I'm probably not going to see.
So we've realized is Greg hates Pokemon. So.
Yeah, you Pikachu hater, man.
I made Pikachu in Smash Brothers. I don't know what you're talking about. My brother mains Jigglypuff, so there's definitely Pokemon love on this side of the NintendoFuse family over here. So
I think
yeah. Anything. I think it's interesting. I'm I'm going back and forth if I like the look of the Pokemon or not. Like, part of me goes, that's really cool, and it's mostly realistic, and and it's weird to think about like what they would look like in real life. And I think one of the famous like internet artists, I can't remember his name right now, had a history of like creating or drawing, painting Pokemon in real life. And I heard some rumors that he was actually brought in to aid and help the whole movie, which is really awesome that they did that. But I still remember, even when I saw his drawings and paintings and stuff like that, there was this like, I don't know if it's like it's not an uncanny valley sort of thing, because Pokemon aren't real, but it's almost like too real in a way that I'm like, no, you need to be a cartoon, because seeing you in real life, it's a little creepy almost. But it kind of fits with the direction the movie is going. So part of me likes it, but part of me still thinks it's a little creepy. I don't know.
If you want to think creepy, think about if this was actually made in the 80s with like bad puppets as opposed to CGI.
That's true. It could come out like a Labyrinth sort of thing, which could actually be cool.
Yeah. Sesame Street Pokemon Edition.
Yeah. So this is coming out in February? No. Is that no? That's it's just 2019. Do we actually have an official date? Is it May? May 9th?
I don't see a date. There might be. I just didn't see it.
I think it might be May of 2019. So it's like right in the middle of all the Avengers movies and different things like that. So it's going to be a
May 10th. Shows what kind of fans you guys are.
Says the person who
touche,
couldn't watch a minute trailer just be waste of your life. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be there. I'll be watching it. We'll definitely do some more talk as more trailers coming out and then the movie comes out. But I'm interested at least to see where this is going. To have some.
What I'm hoping. I hope that Saturday Night Live does spoofs. I hope Saturday Night Live gets this trailer and has Danny DeVito voice over all the parts as Pikachu, because I'd love to see that.
Oh man, that'd be great. Which I just hope it's good as well, because part of me thinks this could be really bad, and we could have another Super Mario Brothers on our hands. But I don't know. I feel like they have enough desire that they wouldn't let a bad movie come out. But who knows? We'll see. All right, let's move into a new segment before we jump into our holiday gift guide. And every once in a while, we want to do this. I really got thinking about this kind of a segment because I recently moved, as a lot of you guys know, and I have been going through some boxes, and I found some stuff from my history of Nintendo fandom, and I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that I had that. And I know Barry's got like this huge gigantic museum in his house pretty much. And so I was like, you know what, we need a show and tell sort of segment. And so I talked with these guys and thought, every once in a while, when there's a little bit less to talk about or something like that, let's throw in a show and tell sort of segment. So we're just going to go around and show kind of a piece of our Nintendo collections or something like that kind of stands out to us and kind of show it off. So let's go to Greg first. Greg, what you got for us?
All right. So probably the most somewhat uninteresting things, I guess, that I'm sure a number of people actually got, but I'm actually kind of proud that I actually went out and got them, is like the pair of Wii controllers that are Mario and Luigi. So I had gotten these towards the end of the Wii's life cycle. Didn't barely even used them because I already had enough controllers, but I still thought it was warranting to pick it up just because they're very cool the way that they're like all green and red and have like some of their features like on the layouts of the controllers, like the buttons or whatever, like the little button, like the gold little like button things that hold the overalls together and stuff. Those very tiny details that made it on the controllers. So definitely very cool.
Did you pull a Hassan and get the Toad and the Peach and the Bowser and the
No, I didn't go full circle. I just left it up with Mario and Luigi as the main ones, as those are my favorite. I knew Hassan would get all the other ones, so
nice.
I
Yeah,
just stayed
those are
with the
cool.
classic plumbers.
Cool. I'll go ahead and go next because I feel like that Barry's gonna probably one up me naturally, so I'll just get mine out of the way. But I have an old plush
Oh, I love that.
of Mario. I don't know when I got this, but the copyright on it is 1988, and this is from Acme. Probably not the fake company for like Wile E. Coyote, but actual Acme. But yeah, he's well worn. I like 1988. I was 6 years old, and so his nose is like just permanently stuck up, and his mustache is very, very flat, and his hat usually flips up, but I kind of can sometimes push it down. His overalls are just, they're just like ribbons. But I glued them back on because they'd fallen off years ago, and I glued them back on a couple years ago. And yeah, his shoes are very worn and everything. He's very well loved. I'll just say that. But this was one of my favorite stuffed. It's a plushie. At the time, I was like, I probably had no idea what a plushie was. I would just call him a stuffed animal. It's not an animal. But one of my favorite things. He's not soft at all. He's like, there's some thickness in there. I don't know what's inside, but anyhow, this is a relic of my childhood because I was stuck on Mario Brothers very early on, and so this is one of the first non-games that I got that kind of showed how much into Nintendo I was. So that's Mario. So
that's awesome.
Barry,
I can't one up it. See, that is actually awesome. I love stories like that. It actually makes me wish I had something different for show and tell right now because it's downstairs what I would grab. But yeah, like you, I loved Mario as a kid, and I never had that plushie, or there was like a Donkey Kong one, and I've always wanted them because it was something about the look of Mario in the 80s before they got his modern look. It's just so funny. But no, that's awesome. Like that's personal. That's well loved. Like, I'm jealous. I wish I had that at 1988.
I'm waiting for Barry to put in a bid for it, Steve. To his museum.
I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do that because it's loved by Steve. I would only want it when Steve was like, you know what, I don't have the room for it anymore. But no, like I could never. That's terrible. Like, to me, gaming has been my passion my whole life, and it's a lot of people's passions their whole life, and things like that are what makes us gamers, like the love that we have, that we're willing to get a plushie outside of a video game.
I just realized that he's also quite flat. I think he's been stored for a little too long, so it's one of the reasons why he's so flat right now. But oh well, it's part of the
charm.
Part of the charm. Yeah.
You know, I'll be honest. Even in my collection, you know, when I've gotten systems and stuff, like I have this Game Boy, just a Game Boy Color, yellow. Nothing big, but it has the name of a little girl on the back of it in Sharpie. And when I got it at a garage sale, and they're like, "Oh, you know, I'm so sorry, it has the name like all on there." And I said, "You know what? I love it. I love that it has the name. To me, that is more important than anything else because it gives the item character. It's not just any Game Boy Color; it's your Game Boy Color. So, to me, things like that are what make a collection. The real personal stories behind it, not just the items themselves.
Cool. All right, so what do you got, Barry?
All right, I guess I'll go. For those that are not watching, obviously they're listening, we'll do a little story time so that you kind of get some idea of what I'm having, and then you could always Google. But back in the 1980s, Nintendo of America didn't exist. Nintendo of Japan was obviously the only branch of the company, and they wanted to try and get into the American market. And they had been trying to do little bits here and there throughout the years, but they had a new product out, and they really wanted to get it into the American market. That product was the Game & Watch. Very famous, we all know it. Smash Brothers coming out, Mr. Game & Watch, of course. But they had no America branch, so they couldn't just let's put it out there. There's no money. So they actually contacted a company in New York City called Mego, which is a toy company in the 1980s and 70s. And they said, hey, we have this product. We would like to let you guys release this product if you're interested, and get it out to American markets. Kind of like beta testing, see how well it does, and if it does well, we're gonna put our own thing in there. Maybe we're gonna make our own branch, and if it doesn't do well, oh well, we're gonna stay in the Japanese market. So Mego agreed, and they took on the Game & Watch, but they couldn't call it Game & Watch because Nintendo owned it. So they actually called it Timeout Games, and they were supposed to release 5 of these titles. And I guess after the 4th one was so successful, Nintendo said, "That's it, we're done, and we're gonna open up Nintendo of America. We're gonna put the Game & Watch out there ourselves. We're gonna get our name out there." So there are 4 Mego Timeout Game & Watches out there. These are official Game & Watches. These are made by Nintendo, but they are put out instead by Mego, and the names have actually been changed -1 from their Japanese counterpart, and they're all different colors, which is cool. So I'm gonna put this up to the camera. This one is Flagman, which is also called Flagman in Japan. It's the Game & Watch Flagman, but you can see in the top it says Timeout, and it has the Mego logo down underneath the name, which is an M. No Nintendo, however. If you do turn it over, you're never going to see this, but there is in the plastic is the copyright, and it actually does have copyright Nintendo right there, but it's actually not the Nintendo version of Flagman. This is the Mego version. The next one they put out is Exterminator, which for us is a Vermin, is the Game & Watch equivalent. But this Exterminator, the first one they actually put up is Toss Out, which is known as Ball to everybody on the Game & Watch area. And the final one is Fireman. Fireman is known as just Fire in the Game & Watch. But these are the 4 Timeout Game & Watches from 1980. And they are an interesting piece of Nintendo history, because Nintendo if these didn't succeed, Nintendo of America may never have come out, or not anytime soon. We may have never had the NES, and we most certainly wouldn't have had Game & Watches over here. So I just thought that was a pretty cool piece of Nintendo history.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I asked, where do you manage to find those? Like a garage sale, or was it somewhere else? Or?
No, I had to look for these, and I wound up having a contact, and I didn't get them all. I got 3 of them from one person, who unfortunately did have them previously boxed, but I couldn't find them boxed. I found 1 box, and they were asking way too much money. I was like, yeah, I'm not paying that. And I got lucky on the 4th one. I was just like, oh my god, someone has the 4th one. I threw in honestly an offer. I was like, I just spent more than I wanted to on the first 3, but I had to get them. I was like, will you take this? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I was able to complete the set, but it took a little bit of looking and a lot of patience. If I wanted to just throw money down, you can get them if you're lucky on eBay for whatever, but with a little bit of patience and looking, you can find them. But they are much rarer than their Game & Watch counterparts. So you can get those same 4 games, Game & Watch, much, much cheaper. But I just thought this was just such a cool part of history, and I didn't even know it beforehand. When I found this out, I said that I have to at least get one of them, and then I got lucky. And cool. Only 4 to the set. There was a 5th one. Judge was supposed to come out, but they never did.
Yeah, and they basically look the same as their Game & Watch counterparts.
Exactly. Right? They're exactly the same as the Game & Watch counterparts. Mr. Game & Watch is there. I don't know if you can see, but you can see Mr. Game & Watch there in toss-up. They have the exact same buttons. Everything is the same mold. It's just the name is different for 3 out of 4. The Timeout logo and the Mego logo is there instead of Nintendo. But that's it. They're otherwise exactly identical. You can put the 2 next to each other because it's Nintendo's mold. That's why it has Nintendo's copyright in the back. Nice. It is exactly, here it is. The Americans don't know who Nintendo is. So, but they know Mego because you're a bigger company. At the time, you put it out and see how well it does, and it obviously did well enough. But it's interesting if you go back and look up the commercial, because you could find the old commercial for it. It's really weird, this weird 1980 commercial for it was portable gaming that was very brand new. But it's an interesting piece.
That's cool. We have to thank Mego for helping Nintendo become what they are today, I guess. So
at least Nintendo of America, yeah.
Right. Taking a chance on them. So that's cool. All right. Well, Yeah, like I said, we won't do this the show and tell every episode, but every once in a while we'll kind of take a peek in the past in our collections and see what we have there and kind of show them off. But that's the old. Now it's time to move on to the new. And I think this is one of the first times, if not the first time, that we've ever done a holiday gift guide. And we just wanted to take a moment to talk about what some things that have come out in the last several months and things that are going to be coming out really soon that we recommend for you to get maybe for yourself or someone, another gamer in your life, especially in the world of Nintendo and that sort of thing over the next few holidays. Holiday season's coming up. Black Friday is going to be coming up this Friday. It's kind of crazy that Thanksgiving's almost here. Yeah, so Black Friday is a big shopping day. You got Christmas and New Year's and I'm blanking on all the other holidays. Wow. Hanukkah and like Kwanzaa and I don't know. There's like so many that are all around that same time. Festivus for the rest of us as well. And so we're going to talk about games, accessories, and some other products that we'd recommend for you guys to be purchasing this holiday season. And we're going to go in that kind of order. So games, and then accessories, and then other. So let's start out with games. Greg, what's some games that you think would definitely be kind of on the top of, or should be on the top of their list this year as they are shopping for holidays?
Well, for the brand new Switch owners, I would definitely recommend for them to also make sure to get a copy of Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, and definitely like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I think those are 3 great starter games that have been, even though they've been out for a while, that they're still great games to have and enjoy. Something that's a lot like more recently, you probably would definitely want to do Mario Tennis Aces, Super Mario Party, and I guess I could even recommend Pokemon Let's Go, even though I could personally recommend it, but I would think that majority of people picking up a Switch this holiday season could definitely enjoy all 3 of those games as well that came out this year.
Cool. Barry, any additions to that, or you want to kind of hit any of those a little more?
Yeah, I mean, all those are basics, and I think the majority of Switch owners either own the majority of those games, or if they are getting a Switch this holiday, those are most likely the games they're going to play first. Those are the must-haves, like the Blue Ocean games, or whatever the Nintendo calls. What I would recommend is going a little bit on the niche side. Obviously, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, especially Torna, and I say especially Torna just because it's a great gateway, and I think that game needs way more love than it's getting, and I can't recommend it enough. I really can't. If you're interested in another game, I do recommend Starlink. And right now, as we're filming this, we on Black Friday is this holiday, or this Friday. Literally, I think Best Buy has it for $35, the starter pack. Like, it's so worth $35. Mm-hmm. It's not even a matter of discussion. It's such a good game, and I don't think it's going to do well because of the toys to life, and I think that's a real shame because the toys are a fun aspect, but definitely the gameplay is a fun aspect. So I definitely think people should get that. And the third game I would say would be Diablo 3. It's just a great game. The Switch version, I think, is probably the best simply because it can be played offline. You don't need to worry about having an internet connection. And there's a lot of content there, a lot of bang for your buck. And even though it is an old game at this point by video game standards, it's still incredibly fun. And, just being able to play it portably is just a ton of fun.
Yeah, those are great games. I echo what you guys have said. Also want to add in, it's not out yet, but of course we're going to recommend Smash Brothers. It's going to be great. So it's not going to be out by Black Friday, but you can get it soon after and still before most of the major holidays. And any person you're buying games for, if you get them Smash Brothers, they will love you forever. If you bought me Smash Brothers, I would love you forever. So it's definitely going to be a must buy for sure for the holiday season.
$60 buys your love forever, Steve. Huh?
That's all it takes.
I got to spend $60 now.
Oh, Barry, you already have it. All right. So anyhow, let's move on. I wanted to mention, Greg, I think you mentioned the Mario Kart. There is this Mario Kart bundle that Nintendo is coming out. So if you will soon, I think it's already available. But you get the system, a dock, and everything with Mario Kart for $2.99. So it's basically Mario Kart for free. And so if you have not gotten a system yet, I highly recommend that bundle. Would be a great one to get. They also have ones for Mario Tennis Aces and Fortnite. I think are the only two other ones. Mario Party has a collection with some Joy-Cons in it. So there's a lot of bundles out there that are really cool.
Also, the Diablo 3 bundle at GameStop with the system, with the special system, and the Pokemon and the Smash Brothers systems as well.
Right. So yeah, if you don't have a system itself, you want to get those bundles. There's great bundles out there this year. And the only other thing I'd add is an eShop card, because there are so many games. We talked about this earlier, that are digital only. And I have so much fun in terms of holidays. I play a lot of games with my family and my friends over the holidays. And so games like Super Mario Party and Mario Kart and stuff like that are great, but also Jackbox games. I've talked about those a lot. Those you can get with an eShop card. So if you have someone that does prefer digital downloads or just you want to get some of those other games, an eShop card is a great thing to pick up for them so they can kind of pick their own games and download them from the eShop.
I'm really surprised to not hear you say Rocket League.
It's on the list for sure, but but yeah, I was kind of thinking newish game. I forget that it's still newish because it's on Switch, but I've been playing it for so many years. But yes, Rocket League is one of those games that you can download as well. But you can also buy the physical copy too. But yeah, I think. I don't know. I totally forgot. But anyhow, you distracted me with other games. So, but yes, Rocket League's always great. But all right. So in terms of games, we'll talk more about this. We're going to have a post out really soon with more of our thoughts behind this. But you can check that out very, very soon on NintendoFuse.com. But let's move in from games to now accessories. So the Switch, the 3DS, a lot of different accessories out there. What are the must-have purchases for accessories for Nintendo systems this holiday season? We'll go to you, Barry, first time.
For accessories, I'm definitely have to say, if you do get Pokemon, get the Pokeball Plus. Not only is it really neat to play with the controller, but it's great to be able to just take your Pokemon for a walk and come back afterwards and get a bunch of experience, and it adds to the immersion so much. It's well worth the price, and you can get a bundle to save, I think, $10 with the game. And if you get the Pokemon system bundle, you get a Pokeball Plus with it. Another thing I would definitely suggest is a Pro Controller. If someone's new, they haven't played the Switch yet, definitely get them a Pro Controller. It's well worth the money. That controller is amazing and usable in so many games, and it's worth its weight in gold. I've used that controller for so many hours, and it lasts, I think, like 80 hours on a charge, and it just keeps trucking. The last thing I would recommend would probably be, if you're getting Smash, you got to get the GameCube controller and the GameCube adapter, because that's the best way to play Smash. Yeah, there's a Smash Bro controller, but play it with a GameCube controller. So that's what I would recommend.
Cool. Greg, you got anything to add to that, or want to reiterate anything?
Yeah, you did have one of the items. The Pro Controller was also on my list. Even though I've barely even used it, I would still recommend it because when I do play on the TV, it's definitely one of the go-to controllers that I actually enjoy using a lot because it's incredibly comfortable. But some of the extra things I was going to add in, these are more for the person that also is going to be carrying around their Switch a lot more. I would also consider an extra AC adapter as a number of thing to get, so you can charge it off without having to use the dock. It makes it a lot easier for traveling on vacation. I would also still recommend getting like a 128 gigabyte SD card, the micro SD card, that's come down a lot in price since the Switch has been out, and you can easily, you've heard me and Steve already fill it up in like a year. So that's more for full title games, but obviously this is much supportive for all those smaller games that you are definitely going to enjoy and want to try out. I would also recommend a screen protector. I know a number of people might not be aligning their switches properly into the dock and have scratched it, thus, so you can never go wrong with a screen protector. And then, of course, one of the highlights is an actual carrying case, because it makes it a lot easier to travel around with it when it's all nice in a case, and kind of shows off that you can pick your favorite game like Zelda or Mario as a case design, and can't go wrong with that. So
that's cool. Yeah, I agree. The carrying case, this is how I carry mine around. Of course, this is a limited edition Zelda one, but there's a bunch of other great cases out there. Also want to echo what you guys have said about the Pro Controller. It's definitely one of my favorite controllers that exists. And there's that Smash Brothers Special Edition one. If you can get your hands on it, that'd be really cool to get. But I'd also say any additional dock. I know Greg's mentioned an extra power adapter. If you think you might bring your Switch around with you, take it over to other people's houses, or maybe you just have multiple TVs set up in your house. I recommend getting an additional dock that you can also get if you get it in the set. It comes with a power adapter as well. So I'd recommend getting an additional dock if you think you're going to be traveling a lot with your system within your own home, or taking it to friends' houses and things like that. It helps. I don't have to disconnect all my stuff on my main TV to take my Switch and hook it up to someone else's house, because I have an additional dock that's like ready to go. I also have I have 3 docks because I have another one set up in my office area for like streaming, and it's already set up and ready to go as well. And I have that third one that's kind of usually in my bag, kind of ready to go when I take it to someone else's house. So that's always a big thing. And then thirdly, and finally, I would recommend a pair of headphones, something, especially if you're on the go a lot. I know Greg plays the Switch mostly on the go, and you don't want to annoy everybody else on the plane or train or car, or wherever you're going to be playing. And so a good quality set of headphones is going to be great. There's a lot out there. I just reviewed the HyperX Cloud Mix headset, which is really cool because it works via Bluetooth and wired cable. And so you can play on your Switch by plugging it in, but you can also use that same headset with your phone or your computer or whatever. It's just very versatile. So you can check out my review of that. But something like that would be great because you need some good audio, especially if you're playing on the go. So, all right. So that's games, accessories. We're going to talk about some other things. So maybe there's some other things that don't necessarily fit in that games and accessories category. Nintendo fans out there, they're going to need some other stuff like the plushies and like the other things that we've been talking about from Gaming Past. So I'll go first this time in terms of the other category, because I have some hands-on stuff here. Actually, first I have some feet on. This may be weird, but I'm going to raise up my foot here. There you go. Super Mario Odyssey socks. As not as awkward because I have those in my hands. There are some other Mario socks that I got. These have like old school Super Mario Brothers design on there as well. I have some Zelda ones. They're dirty because I just wore them the other day. Apologize for that. But there's a lot of really cool socks out there. I got these at Target. I think they're at several different places, but these are from Target, and they're made by BioWorld. So, but they do have the official Nintendo seal of quality on there as well. So I'd recommend some sort of clothing, sort of stuff like that. So there's some socks. Socks are awesome, especially right now. A lot of people enjoy having some fun socks. And Target also has a lot of different artwork. So you guys could have probably seen this if you've been watching the podcast. I have a lot of my Nintendo art and stuff on the wall. Some Zelda art and some Mario art over there in the corner and stuff. These are recent pictures that I picked up at Target that I haven't got a chance to put on the wall yet, but there's a Zelda one. And then I do have 2 other ones that are kind of a cool design of Mario and Yoshi. If you can see those. So those are also really cool. They're They're available at Target and some other places as well. But yeah, if you have a Nintendo fan that loves to decorate their walls, their office, their room, stuff like that, artwork and things like that, be a great thing to pick up for them as well. So let's see you, Greg. Anything else?
Yeah. Funny enough, I was also at Target. One of the things that I did find that we picked up was an actual Mario ornament. So it's actually on my Christmas tree right now. I know I'm one of the protesters that put up the tree before Thanksgiving, but I didn't bring it in to the office to show it off. But it's definitely you get like Mario or Luigi as a little figurine, as an actual ornament to put on your tree. So of course, why not extend the holiday season by putting a little piece of Nintendo on your tree or ornament displays? So that was definitely one thing. Second thing is it's getting colder outside across the United States. I have like a Mario blanket, so that can keep you warm while you're playing Switch on the couch or something with friends, family, whatever. So that would definitely be a very cool thing to get as a gift. So, yeah. Then I still echo all the clothing. I mean, I have like Mario shirt on, so definitely can't go wrong with clothes, t-shirts, socks, whatever. So hats, they make it all these days, it seems.
Cool. Barry, what do you got?
Well, like you guys, obviously clothing, but I went a little different direction. I recommend Jack Specific has the World of Nintendo figures. They're 2.5-inch or 4-inch figures. There's 2 6-inch as well. I've noticed the several waves have come out obviously for years now, and they've been brought back. Like GameStop has like a Splatoon pack with the Inkling and 2 of the Squids, and they've got like the Mario pack with the 6-inch Bowser versus the 4-inch Mario. And there's a ton of these characters. There's Zelda characters, there's Pikmin characters, there's Donkey Kong characters, Mario characters, Splatoon characters. It's just a Star Fox has characters. You can get the whole team in 4-inch figures. That's a really cool. Toys R Us used to have them all the time. Now you can still get them at GameStop. You can find them online. Just if you have somebody who likes little collectible figures, they're very inexpensive. You get a lot of bang for your buck and show some Nintendo love. So those I definitely recommend. Another thing, you mentioned plushies. While it's not the old plushies like yours, Build-A-Bear has some really excellent plushies. They do have a Super Mario series and they have a Pokemon series. I have several of the Pokemon for my wife, and they are awesome. They're big. They're fluffy, and if you get them online, they have like the actual Pokemon sound effects. Just a ton of fun. They're not cheap, but the quality is there. So I definitely recommend those for any Pokemon or Mario lover that just loves stuffed animals or plushies. And finally, this kind of sounds similar to the first one, but Amiibo. I still, I think Amiibo are going to get harder to find after Smash hits that crest and dissipates, and there'll be less releases, and Toys R Us is gone, so it's harder to get them. And while there's new shipments of the older Amiibo, they're smaller shipments, and they're only getting 1 or 2 characters here or 1 or 2 characters there. And especially with Smash coming out, the functionality is there. I even if you don't have a Switch or you just don't like to play with Amiibos, they're great just to display, just as figures to display. So I think if someone's interested in any of those series, I think you should look into them now before they disappear from store shelves.
Cool. Barry, are the Build-A-Bear, do they have Nintendo clothing as well for those? Yes. Oh, yes. I knew I've been holding on to that $10 gift card for some reason.
Yeah, in fact, I'll put one on now. We have several. We've got there's more than we have. It's this Charmander, Bulbasaur, both Vulpix, Pikachu, Eevee. Although I think the ones we have, but there's also a Meowth, a Squirtle. There's God, I think there's another one coming out. There's so many. Okay, I'm just getting delivered here. So So here we got Bulbasaur. You can see the size.
Oh my gosh.
These things are big, right? And like Bulbasaur's got this cute little scarf, and it's like a leaf scarf with Pokeballs on it. So that's like Pokemon themed. And then we got here. This is the Alolan Vulpix, which again you can see the size. They are big, and Let's see if he'll play. I probably can't do the feet thing. It's being a pain in the butt for me. I never. There we go. So you hear like it's actually like the Pokemon sound effects. You know, so it's really cool that they did that, and that sound effect's online exclusive, but they come up with multiple outfits too. So like if you have a Pokemon lover, like this is a no-brainer. They're well worth it. They're really good quality. And if there's a problem, like this one actually came, and the sound effects that came in it were chirping noises. It sounded like a bird. I contacted Build-A-Bear, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna send you the right chip, bring it to a Build-A-Bear local, and we'll fix it for you." So they were really good with that. But yeah, I totally recommend them. They're huge. If you have a kid who loves Pokemon or Mario, like I said, they have like a Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Yoshi. I think. And they're weird because they're like bears as Mario. The Pokemon actually look like the Pokemon. But if you have a kid who likes them or an adult that likes them, my wife loves Pokemon, so it was like, okay, here you go. You know, well worth it.
That's really cool. Yeah. I knew that they came out, but I hadn't actually seen them. So that's amazing how big they are. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're
where Steve's gonna be heading this weekend.
I used to live in a town that had a Build-A-Bear in town, and it was kind of dangerous. And sometimes I walk by there and like, I got my wife, a couple years ago for Valentine's Day. We went there and Build-A-Bear together and everything. And it's just a normal one, but this little personal, but she designed it, she picked it, and she kind of like clothed it like me. And so that was kind of like the idea. It was like, it's from me. She wanted it to kind of look like me. But we were looking for some like gaming clothing because we're like, that's what I wear all the time. I'm always wearing like some sort of graphic tee with games or something like that on it. And so we keep looking over and over, like, you got to find some good gaming clothing for a bear.
The first one we got was the Pikachu, and the Pikachu one came with a T-shirt that had a Pokeball on it, and then it was also the one with the 20th anniversary for Pokemon logo. They had that as a special shirt. They don't have like Mario themed or anything like that because it's Pokemon Company, but it's still like Pokemon themed outfits. And for the Mario ones, I think it's obviously the overalls, the Mario outfit for the bears. So maybe you can get that and dress as Mario.
Maybe. So that's cool. So like I said, make sure you check out NintendoFuse.com to be to see our full holiday gift guide that'll be posting in a couple days later this week, and we'll post all about the stuff that we talked about and more. But before we wrap up, we do want to address one quick listener question anonymously sent in. Remember, you can also send in your questions at podcast@nintendofuse.com. Send them in via Twitter or Facebook. But this question is specifically like the Game Awards, and they say, how do you feel about this year's Game Award nominations? So if you are unfamiliar with the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley has kind of developed these over the last several years. Last year, Nintendo had a lot of presence within the Game Awards. This year, not so much. And that's my initial thoughts. It was like, wow, they did not get much love this year. Greg, what do you think about the Game Awards nominations? Did you get a chance to look over them yet?
Yeah, there's definitely a major lack of Nintendo games on this list. Even games that are like exclusive to Nintendo. So yeah, that's kind of a big downer. I mean, last year was kind of understandable. They had Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild. Those are huge games that are well deserving of their awards. But I guess they didn't quite have a lot of releases this year, and we've even kind of talked about that. I think it wasn't like a huge hitter this year outside of now Smash, but Smash is releasing a little bit after these are going to be done. So it didn't make this year's lineup, obviously. So.
Yeah, I know Barry thinks differently. There should be some games on there for sure. We've chatted a lot about this off podcast a little bit. Barry, what's your thoughts? I mean, there's a couple games I know that you're disappointed that didn't make that list. What's going on?
Well, I'm trying to think how to put this. It was no way to replicate last year. I mean, we knew going into 2018 that there was no way that Nintendo could deliver 2017 again. Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I mean, these are just amazing games. and they hit it out of the park. Their first 9 months, not even their first year. They were only, Switch was only out for 9 months in 2017, and 2018 was definitely a slower year. It still had some great games, with Kirby and Mario Tennis and Super Mario Party, and obviously now Pokemon and Smash coming out. And 2018 was definitely filled with a lot of ports too. You Hyrule Warriors, Bayonetta 1 and 2, Donkey Kong Country. So it was definitely lackluster in that department. So it doesn't surprise me to see Nintendo get less love this year. What surprised me is that Nintendo practically got no love this year. And I understand Smash isn't qualified. Smash is going to be qualified for next year. And I think Pokemon Let's Go might have missed that mark too. So taking those two out, those are the big flagship titles for the year, it definitely hurts Nintendo. What bothers me is that the best game to me from last year qualified for this year because it came out in December and got completely snubbed. Now, I understand they weren't going to nominate Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for Game of the Year because they need to pander to the people that buy 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 million copies of games. And that's going to be your Red Dead. That's going to be your God of War. That's going to be your stuff like that. But to get snubbed in the RPG category is just downright insulting, especially with Octopath there, which is a great game and I absolutely love. But it doesn't hold a candle, in my opinion, to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And even if Xenoblade didn't win, just at least a nomination in the best RPG category. Monster Hunter World got put in there, and that's not really an RPG. That's an action-adventure game. That's not an RPG. And that's just insulting. And what makes it worse is Nintendo is on the board. How did Nintendo let this fly? How did Nintendo not say, whoa, wait a minute here. This is just wrong. So outside of the family category, I believe, and RPG with Octopath, I don't think Nintendo really doesn't have like any presence on this show, and that is a true shame.
Yeah.
However, next year is going to be amazing because Metroid and Pokemon and Bayonetta 3 and Fire Emblem and all these games on top of Smash Brothers, on top of Pokemon Let's Go. So next year is going to be amazing for the Game Awards, but this year, I mean, I think most Nintendo fans are only be watching to see if Reggie comes out and pulls another announcement like they've been doing. But if Nintendo doesn't even tease any announcement, there's almost no reason for a diehard Nintendo fan to even watch the awards, which is a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember last year I was pretty much glued to the thing the entire time, and it's a long show, and I was glued to it the whole time because there was so much excitement. And this year I'm like, probably have it on the background, and I'll pay attention if Reggie comes out and announces something cool or something like that. But other than that, I'm not as interested. And I think not only because of there's not being as much Nintendo presence, but I think just overall, it seemed like the same like 7 or 8 games were over and over and over and over again. And they're not bad games at all. They're great games. They deserve nominations, but it just seems such a narrow field this year. And I think that's what I'm most disappointed in. And maybe that's pretty, representative of what games come out this last year. But I feel like there's more out there that people were talking about, but they just kind of get overshadowed by these seven or 8 ones that keep rising to the top over and over again. The ones that do sell, 18 million copies, and then that's all that gets the attention at the awards.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of multi-platform games, Red Dead Redemption, Assassin's Creed, and multi-platform games will almost always outsell an exclusive title, simply because it's just a bigger install base when you have multiple consoles. That being said, Sony has 3 out of the 6 Game of the Year nominations for exclusive titles. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. How come Nintendo doesn't even get 1? Like, what the hell? Just 1. Like, and Xenoblade could have easily been that one. I wasn't expecting Kirby. I wasn't expecting Super Mario Party to be up there, But I would have even accepted Octopath, even though it was Square. But that was a big Nintendo exclusive being in that. But it wasn't. It was nothing. And it's just so weird.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we watch a lot of the other award shows, whatever, like movies and like the music awards and stuff, and this just kind of seems like it's getting more tailored towards that, where it's like the same like 7 things that are like in like every category. It's like, oh, this actor is from like this movie and he's best actor, and then the best actress is also from that movie too. It's like it seems like as soon as you get one thing that does well, it just has to excel across like pretty much every category that it could possibly be entered in. So
Yeah, there's movies that are clearly like fishing for an Oscar. That you could tell they come out and they're like, this movie is clearly either trying to get an Oscar nomination or is going to be tailored to the Oscar community. Where I'm watching like, how come Infinity War isn't best movie? Like, what the heck? Did you guys not see that movie? Like, what's wrong with you people? That was totally better than anything else you're throwing out there.
yeah, that's usually my thoughts. Like, how the heck did Wreck-It Ralph 2 not make it in the best movie? I mean, clearly the winner there. So
that's coming out. It's
Yes,
so
yeah.
soon.
that's Friday we're going this weekend.
Nice. I think we'll be
Well,
going
Thursday
as well.
actually, but we're going this week.
Yeah. We can talk about that in our next podcast for sure. It'd be a topic. Little tease for next time. Hey guys, before we wrap up, let's talk about what you're looking forward to other than Wreck-It Ralph 2, which I think we're all looking forward to going to see that. What are some games that you're looking forward to playing over the next couple of weeks? Let's go to you first, Greg.
Well, I'm actually just trying to bring up the list of games that are going to be coming out, but I actually still haven't played Mega Man 11, so that's been on my list, and that's even on the list of Game of the Years for one of the categories I saw. So I still got to give some time and love to that game, but let's see. A lot of these don't even think I've even really heard of that are coming out on the Switch in the next couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I know Missplosion Man. I think I've heard some stuff about that one, but I think that might be the only title that I could actually say that I'd be interested in.
Yeah. There's kind of in that season before the end of the year push, like, Smash Brothers is going to be just over the next couple weeks. So, but there's not a whole lot of what is coming out. Barry, you got anything that you're particularly excited about?
I unfortunately don't have my list in front of me because it was on my computer. But for what's coming out, nothing, because anything coming out, I'm not going to be able to play anyway because I will be at the in-laws for a week and a half. So anything coming out this week and next week, I'm not going to be here to receive. So I will be instead looking forward to playing some back burner games on my Switch. Mainly I'm looking at Dead Cells and Ys 8, as well as finishing Pokemon. Those are the main draws. So hopefully by next podcast, I could say, yeah, I played them and beat them, or at least close to beat them. And, will tide me over until December 7th.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's not a whole lot. I used to be a big R-Type fan. So R-Type Dimensions, I think, is coming out next week. I might look at that. Also, This War of Mine, I think is having like a special edition or complete edition or something like that coming out soon. I didn't play it on PC before, but I knew it got a lot of critical acclaim because it's a little different type of a game. Looking, at this idea of like, at the aftermath of war and stuff like that. So I'm interested in that because of the previous acclaim that it got. So I may end up getting that for Switch as well, just so I could have that experience, because I don't think the Steam version is on Mac. And so I never got that chance to play it because I don't have a PC to game on. And so I may end up getting it on Switch as well, just to kind of have that different type of game experience that kind of evokes some different emotions and has, a different kind of style than, your Zelda and your Mario and your stuff like that. So did either of you guys play This War of Mine?
No.
Okay. So yeah, I might end up checking it out. And if so, I'll report back in a future podcast and what I'm thinking about it and everything. So again, want to remind you guys to subscribe, hit that bell, especially on YouTube, to be alerted by all of our new videos and podcasts, live streams, all that stuff. If you have not subscribed to us on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, make sure you do that. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, join our Facebook group as well. And make sure that you do send in a question. You can send it in to podcast@nintendofuse.com. Our next podcast is going to be, I believe, on December 2nd. So it'd be two episodes away from our Game of the Year show. But so there's going to be a lot to talk about. It's going to be on the very almost eve of Smash Brothers. So it'd be a lot of speculation about what's going to happen, what we're going to do for Smash Brothers and things like that. Is it on the 3rd? Yes, it is on the 3rd. So December 3rd. So make sure you tune in for that. And like I said, hit that bell so you can be alerted every time we go live. Greg and Barry, thanks again for joining us for another podcast. It's been great.
My pleasure.
Always
it was
a pleasure.
great. Yeah. Love being on it.
Yeah, and thanks for everybody in the chat. We had several talking tonight in the chat. Make sure you join in live if you can next time, and join us in the chat so we can read your comments live, and you can join in the conversation. But until next time, happy gaming, and have a great week.
Happy Thanksgiving too.
Yes.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.